Don't ask me about commas. I don't know about commas. I put them where I think they should go. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am Emily, and since I am in the middle of editing my new novel, the project title is Project Grandfather, I thought I would bring you guys along for a little editing session. I did one of these videos on a short story ages ago, and I had a lot of fun. So I am going to screen share with you guys, and we are going to do a little bit of line editing on chapter 42. It's the answer to life, the universe, and everything. If you are new to my channel, I just finished this new novel a week or so ago. It is 55 chapters long and 84,000 words. It's kind of a high fantasy, adventure fantasy lit RPG. This chapter does not have very many spoilers. It's why I picked it. It's kind of a out of context thing from later on. If you really, truly don't want any spoilers for this book whatsoever, there will be some light out of context spoilers, so maybe this is not the video for you. For a little bit of context, the general plot of this book is our main character Eli is living alone on a mountaintop when his two grandchildren sort of magically appear on his doorstep, and he has to traverse a rather dangerous world in order to find their father and get them back home. Along the way, the older boy gets kind of dragged off by monsters and they have to go chase him down. So that is what they are in the middle of right now. They are in a underground abandoned city of sorts. So what this editing pass is going to be is mostly a line edit. There is not any major developmental edits to do in this book. I do have a list of some small world building details that I am changing as I'm going along, but this is mainly the type of pass that I do on In Dying Starlight, and as well as this book before I post it online. It is not a final draft that I would post on Amazon, but it is completely readable, and it's close to a final draft. Since there is no developmental edits to do, a couple more line edits along this same level would probably get me a final draft. I have just rough drafted this book. I have not edited it before this, so we will probably get some really wonky sentences. So what I do is I have Grammarly turned on because sometimes it catches typos that my brain will just skip right over. And a lot of times I have to argue with it because Grammarly is not actually that smart all the time. We can jump over into my Scrivener document. So I got my chapters along the side here. I have this little edited to bar that I just moved down, or I try to move down without merging it into a chapter. And I don't really title my chapters until I've edited them because I never know what I'm going to title them beforehand. So once I've done an editing pass, it's a lot easier for me to pick something out. My chapters, I try to keep them at about 1,400 words, 1,500 words, sometimes 1,600 words. It's a good length for a chapter length for a web novel. So let's dive in and see how rough this is. I'm already overwriting. Down into the dry tunnel, gently sloping upward is an okay sentence if I don't move it around, but it could sound better. You can get rid of down because it's sloping upward. The reason I used dry is the chapter before this, they nearly drowned. We can actually just get rid of that. I use just as a crutch word so much, it's not funny. I don't like it. I use just and like a lot. And I don't even know why I use like so much. I think I'm using it as in something sounded like something, or they walked like this, or they went. It's not really in dialogue, but it irritates me. I can get rid of this since right there he basically is confirming that he's just trying to be comforting and he is lying. The reason they nearly drowned is, actually you can just read it and find out. Basically, there's some weird stuff with like memories going on. I have magic in brackets because I had not thought up a name for the magic system at all. The normal way to refer to it in a lit RPG is the system, but that always sounds so sci-fi to me, and this is a fantasy, so I wanted to think of something a little bit different, but basically the same, so it doesn't throw off people who are used to reading lit RPG. So it kind of sounds, you know, order is another word for system, so I kind of went with that, and I thought it's kind of cool. Leans, not leads. And see, Grammarly doesn't catch everything. It's not as smart as it thinks it is. Faintly visible. I don't think sound is visible. Faint. He's still tired. The water tried to like put them to sleep. We got magical waterfalls going on. He is still tired, but the strange otherworldly exhaustion has fled. We already know. from the last chapter that it's because of that, so we can get rid of that. Can you still hear your brother? He whispers. The two children have like a magical connection. I'm not gonna say more than that. This kind of thing, technically, Grammarly might be correct, but I don't care. My line editor eventually will tell me whether or not Grammarly is correct or I am correct, so don't ask me about commas. I don't know about commas. I put them where I think they should go. Sits. Most of my line editing is just tightening up sentences. Still, he sits for a moment, more drained than before. I don't like just feel. It works in this sentence, but it could be better. Actually, in this instance, I was gonna change it to are, but they aren't. It is literally a feeling. So in this circumstance, I think I'm gonna keep that, but generally trying to take out the word feel and replace it with something better is a good idea. I think I meant hurts here. That's not a good enough word. I have no clue what I was trying to say here. Sometimes my fingers just don't type what my brain is saying, and it really shows. I hate using that. I really do. Sometimes to the irritation of my proofreaders, because I take them out all the time. He vaguely recognizes he must replace the bandage. Yes, I like sentence fragments. See, which works fine. Shut up, Grammarly. Find. Get is a weak word. Find is also not like super fantastic, but this is dialogue. And he does kind of have a bit of a proper and correct way of speaking, but it's not ultra formal, so. I have a habit I am trying to break of writing sentences that are much too long. They're not really run-on sentences, but they could be cut down to make things more readable. Light nonetheless, he glimpses the outline of her face in it. I'm gonna come back to that. That still feels funky. I'm trying to think of a word for like painfully and heavily pushing yourself up to your feet that I haven't used a lot already. Dragging himself. Here we get to look at the lit RPG system. I don't write complicated lit RPG. I really truly do not. He squints at it, nodding to himself with grim satisfaction. See, Scrivener is correct sometimes. I hate using that, but this is probably a better use of it. I just miss letters a lot when I'm drafting. Even if I'm not drafting super quickly, I swear the more I write, the less accurate my typing becomes. Which it shouldn't be, but it does. I think I used to type much more accurately than I do now. Anything about, and I just miss entire words. She gives a, I say little a lot. We're gonna go with tiny. Shy. I don't need that. My characters nod a lot. They nod and they smile or they smirk a lot. I don't remember how to spell endured. How do you spell endured? Oh, thank you. Also, being a writer does not mean you know how to spell. I have a lot of characters who have scars, but then I have a lot of main characters who have lived through lots of battles and fighting. I feel like there are a lot of fantasy books out there where there are supposed to be like these warrior characters and people who are just fighting constantly and they don't have any injuries to show for it, and that's very weird to me. Trying to do good things for the magic, make the world better, promote healing and healing skills and other things which should be. Don't look at my tabs. Nurtured or and fostered. Fostered. I already mentioned that she is. We very well know by now that she is helping Eli with the correct directions because her and her brother have this connection. So almost all the turns they have taken have been under her guidance. So I don't need the rest of that sentence. I don't need the then. I like the comma there. Just let me have my commas, Grammarly. Please and thank you. And I had a name for someone that I didn't have the name for him until I went through the book. Where'd I go? There we go. By the way, this book has very, very, very mild horror vibes, which is weird for me, but here we are. So, that is chapter 42. Done. Gotta think of a title. I'll go with that. Good title. That is how I tend to edit my books. It will get more line edits along these lines before I ever publish it on Amazon or anything like that. But now I'm up to date on the world building in this chapter and everything is coherent and I have tightened up the language quite a bit. You can read this on your own road if you so desire. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, giving it a thumbs up and a subscribe really helps out my channel. You can read all my books, links are in the description, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye!